Shabbat Shalom. Our scripture reading for today is 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 7 through 9. Lest I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of revelations, there was given to me a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I should be exalted above measure. For this thing I besought the Adonai thrice, that it might depart from me. And he said unto me, My grace is sufficient for thee.
Shabbat Shalom, family. Our selection today: there are thorns in my flesh.
There are thorns in my flesh I can't seem to overcome, and these thorns in my flesh just keep on hindering me. Yeah, I really want to be everything that you want me to be. So I'm begging you, yeah, please, please remove these thorns. There are thorns in my flesh I can't seem to overcome, and these thorns in my flesh just keep on hindering me. Yeah, I really want to be, yeah, everything you want me to be. So yeah, please remove these thorns. Yeah, I took your word and I hid it in my heart, so I could live as you commanded in this world, but set apart. You said that every promise you would keep if I would lay all of my sins, lay them at your feet. So I'm begging you, yeah, please, please remove these thorns. Take them away so I can live holy. Take them away. Take them away. Yeah, I want to live holy. Take them away.
The oracles of the UCI. 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you're sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as their children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication, and all uncleanness, or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as become saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather given of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you up on earth. Therefore, let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you, to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right, Shabbat Shalom,
Shabbat Shalom.
which is peace on Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Latonia, Georgia. Listening to this morning's selection, it is something that we have to always be about, praying that Yahweh would remove the thorns from us. There are some thorns that we know we have, and then there are some other things that we may not know that they are thorns right away. Certain things after a while begin to form themselves into thorns, because what it does is it holds us back and it keeps us from doing the things that we would do. It keeps us from doing and performing some of the things that we have covenanted to do for Yahweh Elohim. So those things that may have started out good, but developed into something else, and we didn't get a hold of it. We didn't put it into subjection. And now that thing that may actually have started as a good thing will then become a thorn. Herein lies the protection that Yahweh has for us that gets difficult at times, because we have things that we want. We have things that we ask him for. Then there's the place where he has to offer protection, because we might not see it at that point in time, but the very thing that we desire that may start off good will then develop into a thorn, because we allow it a certain place that it does not deserve in our life. And if anything takes precedent over him, then it definitely is going to develop into a thorn. Let's begin today's sermon in Genesis chapter 47. Genesis 47, and we're going to begin at verse 13.
Verse 13. And there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very sore, so that the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan fainted by reason of the famine.
Now, the interesting part here, the very first verse, the land of Egypt and the land of Canaan. Wait a minute. When you deal with Egypt, you're dealing with the family of Ham. Canaan is a son of Ham. Now, first verse that we're reading. One of the very things that the people try to tell you is that black people have the curse of Ham or Canaan, right? But then at the same time, they don't want to tell you that any black people lived in Israel. Wait a minute. Israel was called Canaan land first, okay? So it's Canaan land first. Right off the rip, it's talking about this land of Canaan and then Egypt. Then they offer us the people that they show us today as Egyptians. Well, if those people are part of Canaan, then they should have been the ones to receive the curse. How is it that you throw the curse on us but not connect the skin color with the people of the book? It's amazing how they play that game double fold and we never call them out on it. Our so-called PhD having preachers will never call them out on it. Go ahead.
And Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan for the corn which they bought. And Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. And when the money failed in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came unto Joseph and said, Give us bread, for why should we die in your presence? For the money fails. And Joseph said, Give your cattle, and I'll give you for your cattle if money fails. And they brought their cattle unto Joseph. And Joseph gave them bread in exchange for horses and for the flocks and for the cattle of the herds and for the asses. And he fed them with bread for all their cattle for that year.
All right. Now, we watched that as this medical emergency came upon the earth. We noticed that all of a sudden the government started giving out payments and things of that nature. All right? Because there were supply chain issues. There were issues getting, food, even, being accessible to everybody. Work problems. People were not able to make the same amount of money. Now, then there was this money. There was some assistance coming from the government. And here you have the exact same thing. Go ahead.
Brother, when you look at it, right, and it says, verse 15, and when the money failed in the land of Egypt, that's what we're not looking at. There's nothing new under the sun. We're going right back in that same direction where the money is going to fail. And we see that people had something to barter with.
Right.
What are we gathering up to be able to barter when the money fails?
The interesting part of that is most of our stuff is already gone. So at this point, they, like you said, have something to barter with. When what we have, the things that we call ours are not ours. We have usable title. We boast and we say, that's my house. No. You have usable title to that house. That house not yours. There's still a bank. Your name ain't on every line on that piece of paper. Your name on this line. There's a bank name on that line. You own that house. Even when we get down to our cars, we believe that we own that. But even when we go and decide to get a tag, there's somebody else who has, you know, the top title position in that car, even once we pay for it. You ever wonder how they can find a car on the side of the road and then not bring it to the person whose it is? They can just resell it. How's that possible? The car was paid for by you. It's your car. How can they get your car on the side of the highway, make a whole nother title, and give it to that person? Now, you got a title, but you had an old title. They made that person a new title. So what happens? What does that mean? That means they have top title position. Because they can make up a whole nother title that now null and voids the one that you got in your closet. So who owns the car? Right. So we do a whole lot of beating on our chest because we have the usability about something, not understanding what's really going on. Go ahead.
Genesis chapter 47 and verse 18. When that year was ended, they came on to him the second year and said unto him, we will not hide it from my master, how that our money is spent. My master also has our herds of cattle. There's not aught left in the sight of my master, but our bodies and our lands.
Wait a minute. Our money is spent. You have given us money, and we don't consider what could have happened if this other event that we endured here took on another couple of years. What was going to happen? Because there was already one big wave that went through. What happened if there was another wave? And what happened if they already planning the second wave? Go ahead.
Wherefore shall we die before your eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land for bread, and we and our land will be servants unto Pharaoh, and give us seed that we may live and not die, that the land be not desolate. And Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh, for the Egyptians sold every man his field, because the famine prevailed over them. So the land became Pharaoh's.
The land now becomes the leaders. You have usable title to the land. You can tell your neighbor that the land is yours because you have a position on the paperwork. But there's another position on the paperwork. What was also interesting, it says, verse 19, wherefore shall we die before your eyes, both we and our land, by us and our land. Whoa. All right, guys. So at what point did they get bought? So then there must be another usable title then on the people. Okay, so that would be your birth certificate. Mm-hmm. So now there's another usable title. So you say you in control of you. But do you have top title position? Interesting. Go ahead.
And as for the people, he removed them to cities from one end of the borders of Egypt, even to the other end thereof. Only the land of the priests bought he not, for the priests had a portion assigned them of Pharaoh, and did eat their portion which Pharaoh gave them, wherefore they sold not their land.
Now, wait a minute. So even before any setup, there's a separation when it comes to the priests. Mm-hmm. You don't come dealing with their stuff. You don't deal with them like that. They get dealt with differently. This isn't the heathen. This is not even a point where Yahweh himself have set this in the earth. Even the heathen says, no, you don't mess with them. No, you deal with them differently. Now, we want to be like everybody else until our stuff start getting took. But see, we got to figure out what we're going to be before they start deciding which things they're going to take and whose stuff they're going to take. He said, don't mess with that stuff. See, I know it's a famine. I know it's all of that, but don't mess with them. Now, you leave that stuff alone. This is a heathen. Go ahead.
You know, verse 21, and as for the people, he removed them to cities from one end of the borders of Egypt, even to the other. So now he's in control. Y'all got to go where I send you to go.
Exactly. This is the part where he says, buy us and our land. You know, you wonder, how did that transaction happen? All right? We can imagine how the transaction happened with the land. But how did the transaction happen with the buy us part? And after he gets the land, of course, it's going to be easier to relocate them. It's going to be easier to relocate them from one part of the country to another part of the country. Go ahead.
Then Joseph said unto the people, Behold, I have bought you this day and your land for Pharaoh. Lo, here is seed for you, and you shall sow the land. And it shall come to pass in the increase that you shall give the 5th part unto Pharaoh, and 4 parts shall be your own, for seed of the field, and for your food, and for them of your households, and for food for your little ones. And they said, You've saved our lives. Let us find grace in the sight of my master, and we will be Pharaoh's servants. And Joseph made it a law over the land of Egypt unto this day, that Pharaoh should have the 5th part, except the land of the priests only, which became not Pharaoh's.
So Pharaoh should have the 5th part, so they got a straight tax in the land. They got a straight Pharaoh tax in the land. Go ahead.
And Israel dwelt in the land of Egypt, in the country of Goshen, and they had possessions therein, and grew and multiplied exceedingly. And Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years. So the whole age of Jacob was 140 years. And 7 years, And the time drew near that Israel must die, and he called his son Joseph, and said unto him, If now I have found grace in your sight, put, I pray you, your hand under my thigh, and deal kindly and truly with me. Bury me not, I pray you, in Egypt. But I will lie with my fathers, and you shall carry me out of Egypt, and bury me in their burying place. And he said, I will do as you have said. And he said, Swear unto me. And he sware unto him. And Israel bowed himself upon the bed's head.
Now, this is a real question to ask. He's saying, bury me in another place. The way that they dealt with burial in Israel, of course, anoint with oils and spices, wind them up in linen, and place them in the ground. That can happen very quickly. To make this travel, you're going to have to move with a body. Now you got to deal with the Egyptian way of burial, because this is going to take a minute to get where you got to go. So he's making, hey, promise me. I don't care what all you got to go through. Promise me you're not going to bury me here. I don't want to be buried here. With that being read, I want you to go to that article, brother. This is a Financial Times article. And start reading at the top right there.
Financial Times. Investors plow record amounts into U.S. farmland. Value of agricultural acreage more than doubles in bet that prices will soar in world suffering scarcity of resources. Investors are pouring record amounts of money into U.S. farmland as they snap up an asset expected to outperform as the world's population grows sharply while natural resources become scarcer.
So the world's population grows sharply while the natural resources decline. So you can then see why it would be necessary in the eyes of the powers that be to get rid of a large group of people to try and level off the balance between supply and demand. And if the powers that be have to pick somebody to go, well, I don't think I need to finish that statement. Go ahead, bro.
The value of farmland held by Investments Group has more than doubled over the past 3 years, according to the National Council of Real Estate Investment Fiduciaries. Susanna Savage in London, February 20, 2024. Its value hit $16.6 billion at the end of 2023, up from $7.4 billion at the end of 2020 and $1.8 billion in 2008. said the NCREIF, which tracks the holdings of some of the largest agricultural investment funds in the U.S. The average value of U.S. cropland has also swelled in recent decades, rising to $5,460 per acre last year from $1,270 per acre in 1997.
So there is a increase in buying up of these things, understanding that if you control the food, you control the people. I mean, we're all but watching a entire area starve to death, and it's being shown on television because they are simply blocking all aid from going in this area of Gaza. All that they don't kill with a bomb are starving to death. They are having disease, because they are losing the ability to clean things, have the waters contaminated. All of this is happening. So it's not just the bullets that are killing them. They are dying all the way around. And this is not happening in secret. The entire earth is watching. Go ahead.
These values are expected to continue surging as climate change makes arable land increasingly scarce as the global population rises.
This climate change is why we'll have a beautiful day like this. Then we'll see those lines in the sky. Then a day after that, it starts raining. Later on in that day that it starts raining, you look, the temperature has dropped 15 degrees. How is that possible? How is it 70 one day and 50 the next? And then soon as the clouds that they've sprayed goes away, it jumps right back up to 70. How is that? They are trying their best to reflect the light and power of the sun back into the atmosphere. And nobody knows just how damaging that's going to be. Go ahead.
With the number of people on the planet set to rise 20% to about 100 billion by 2050 from about 8 billion today, the world will need to produce 60% more food, according to UN estimates. The jump in value of U.S. land has been driven by the COVID-19 pandemic, which upended global supply chains during 2020, leaving supermarket shelves bare. Then, in February 2022, Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, one of the world's biggest exporters of grain to global markets, sent food commodity prices soaring.
And people looked at this as a situation of, why does, the Ukraine situation even matter? When you're talking about the biggest exporter of grain, you're talking about a whole lot of people are going to suffer because of what's happening there. Go ahead.
Married with rising inflation, this made agricultural land more appealing to investors, said Cedric Garner-Lendori, head of agriculture at Cordiant Capital, a specialist global infrastructure investor.
Now, there's something that I need to throw in while we're going through all of these things. Every last one of Yahweh's holy days is based around agriculture. To us, it didn't matter to us. We could always go to a store and get whatever it was we needed. So having these holy days based around the agriculture and the seasons of planting and growing and harvesting, it didn't really make much sense. Well, sounds like Yahweh is about to make us understand just how much sense he makes. Go ahead.
If there's one asset class that hasn't lost money in the medium to long term, it has been farmland. But even with inflation easing, investors are not losing their taste for agriculture holdings, say fund managers.
Now, some of those people are being forced into selling their properties. They're not making these decisions, to buy or get rid of their properties. They're being put in a situation where they have to get rid of it. There are places over in California where they've bought up enough farmland to build a whole city. Or they playing a very high stakes game. Go ahead.
The secular trends are extremely attractive, said Antoine Bison McLernan, chief executive of Fiera Comox, a subsidiary focused on private assets for global assessment management company Fiera Capital, which has about $20 billion in agricultural assets under management. If you have a long-term view of the world, owning quality land with access to water is a good place to be.
All right, that's all I want to go to in that. There are some other interesting things in that article, but one of the things that we have to realize how Yahweh protected us was by having a culture that protected the land. Out of all of the things that we have gotten off into, we're getting down to the basic commodities is how the adversary, the devil, is going to rule over us. When we get into this book and we start reading and people say, you know, why y'all dealing with unleavened bread and Passover and all of these things? When you get down to why or how the adversary is going to get somebody to take the name, number, and mark of the beast, what did he do? Just said you can't buy and sell. Mm-hmm. The very bottom line resources that Yahweh has in his holy days. We think we understand what we're about to keep. I'm talking Armageddon is connected to the stuff that we are about to keep, and we don't even know it. We think we just operating by some rules and regulations. Let me tell you something. You might be earning your protection up in here. These very same things he's dealing with. Hey, you have to do these things in their season. Out of all this money and all this education that we go out to get, man will be brought to his knees for a piece of bread. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 25. That Ferrari don't mean nothing when you're hungry. Unless you can chew the wheel. Unless that wheel edible. You know, I heard somebody say they was in one of those hurricanes and they watched how it leveled off men that the man from the projects was standing in the same line as the man with a Bentley, standing in that water line, because they all needed them same bottled water. It didn't matter that he had a Bentley. He still needed that clean water. So none of that matters when it comes down, all the way down to it. Now, these are natural occurrences. Imagine if while those occurrences were happening, the adversary, the devil, and his people sitting there looking, saying, oh, that's interesting. We need to find a way to manufacture this ourselves. And that gives us control over all these individuals. Leviticus chapter 25, and let's start that at verse 8.
And you shall number 7 Shabbats of years unto you, 7 times 7 years. And the space of the 7 Shabbats of years shall be unto you 49 years. Mm-hmm. Then shall you cause the trumpet of the Jubilee to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month. In the day of atonement shall you make the trumpet sound throughout all your land. And you shall hallow the 50th year, and proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof. It shall be a jubilee unto you, and you shall return every man unto his possession, and you shall return every man unto his family.
If he's being returned unto his possession, he's being returned unto his land. See, there's a certain set of rules that Yahweh has given to govern us, where other people will get upset. Well, I can't believe they have all these rules and all these regulations. They don't understand the difference between what is being put there as a matter of protection. See, we understand basic things until it gets down to restricting us from something that we want to do. See, we realize it's a bad idea to stick that fork in the socket because we done heard about somebody stuck a fork in that socket and it didn't turn out right. So we understand those kind of rules. What happened if you didn't get popped with that electricity right away? Then the adversary, the devil, gets to say, you won't surely die. I mean, you didn't die right there at that moment. So, I mean, how bad could it be? I mean, nothing really happened right then, right? So you good. But Yahweh has the knowledge of what's going to happen down that street and around that corner. And when he then sets up something to keep us from going, do we now feel that he just given us some restrictive laws? Because the fire has not presented itself yet and the fire has not burned us yet, so we don't actually believe that there's a fire? Go ahead.
You know, bro, when you look at the whole situation, like you were saying, you know, certain things are going on. The adversary and his minions are looking and say, hey, how can we implement that? Now we go, and you've also mentioned a lot of times when we do things, we see that the heathen have done it first, and then we don't want to do it because the heathen done it. You know, we see that Pharaoh is the first one to do the mortgaging and taking over the land. You think Yahweh ain't sitting there looking at the same thing, but then he turn around and say, okay, here's what Pharaoh didn't do. He didn't give you opportunity to get it back.
Right.
So I'm going to give you an opportunity to get it back in the 50th year.
But you know what, brother? But hold on. How many people didn't buy a house because Pharaoh did it first?
I thought I didn't want to say it.
No, bro, you should have said it. No. How many people, they want to say, we ain't going to do this because you know the wicked did that. The wicked bought a house first.
And they got a mortgage.
Got a mortgage. So why you got a mortgage, brother? You say you righteous? Why you just buy that whole thing? Just go and put down that $250,000. Just go ahead and get that thing. Go ahead. It's amazing how we pick and choose which ways we gonna be organic. Now, won't you be organic on that one? Throw that $250 down there. Go on and get it. Come on, Cletus. Come on. You don't want to be like the wicked, do you? You don't want to be like no wicked Pharaoh. Come on. Buy that thing. Even worse, build your own. It's a rock quarry right down the street. Y'all want to drive to the what? Well, we go right down. We have a field trip. We go right down. It's a rock quarry, right? You know, lithos mean rock. Lithonia is the city of granite. Right round the corner is Stone Mountain. It's rocks everywhere. What's the problem? Why y'all ain't built your house? Y'all don't want to be like old wicked Pharaoh. Well, why y'all ain't gathering up rocks, building your own damn house? Right. See, it's too difficult. See, now that's life changing now. See, now we don't want to go through them type of life changes when it come down to dealing with something. But we'll deal with something else because it's easy, you know. It's easy. No. Gather up them rocks and build your house. Get the hell out of that mortgage house that you're in. Get the hell out of them apartments. Get the hell out of that. Right. No, we don't want to be that righteous. Right. Read, Bree.
Verse 11. At Jubilee shall that 50th year be unto you. You shall not sow, neither reap that which grows of itself in it, nor gather the grapes in it of your vine undressed. For it is the Jubilee. It shall be holy unto you. You shall eat the increase thereof out of the field. In the year of this Jubilee, you shall return every man unto his possession.
Right. So just because the heathen did something first, Yahweh did it best. We're always trying to figure out who did something first. Well, it must be wicked because these people did it. See, Yahweh has something altogether different set up. This is, his law is a set of protections. But you have to understand now, every time you protecting somebody, that don't always mean that they like all happy with you. See, when you're trying to keep your kids from doing certain things, they don't be like, oh my God, thank you, Father, for you have protected me. All them kids go in the back room. I hate him. Mama would have let me do it. Right. So does that now push you to be liked? Now you want to be liked instead of doing your damn job? Now you gonna back up. Well, you know what? I want to be liked and loved in my house. So you know what, Junior? Go ahead and take the gas in that mattress and play out in the back. That's your damn mind. You out your mind. Go ahead, bro.
And if you sell aught unto your neighbor, or buy aught of your neighbor's hand, you shall not oppress one another. According to the number of years after the Jubilee you shall buy of your neighbor, and according to the number of years of the fruits he shall sell unto you. According to the multitude of years you shall increase the price thereof, and according to the fewness of years you shall diminish the price of it, for according to the number of the years of the fruits does he sell on to you.
So Yahweh has a way to make sure that you are not oppressing one another within the land. That the land is not moving from person to person. So one instance, people will look and say, well, you know, we have our right to marry whoever we want. Yahweh said, no, you must stay within your tribes. Why? Because the land need to stay within its tribes. See, we don't understand the part of protection. We just think that there are a bunch of laws made to restrict us until we wake up one day and realize that we ain't got no property. What happened to your property? Well, all my kids married off and they married out of the land and I ain't got nowhere to stay. Oh, you probably should have paid attention to that order that Yahweh set up, and then you wouldn't be homeless. There's no sense of anybody ever being homeless in the land because the land never leaves the family unless you decide, you know what? I want to love who I want to love. Love shouldn't be restricted. I'm going to put love on top. All right. You're going to put love outside is where love finna be. Keep on. It ain't going to take long. You keep on playing that game and your property going to keep dwindling, and then you ain't got no place to go, and it's your own fault. Because there was an order set for that to make sure that you never lost your land. But we were too busy believing that he was keeping something from us until we realized that he was trying to keep us from losing our stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah, man, there's so much setup of today's stuff right here. When you look at verse 16, he's giving you the formula for prorating. Because if you ever get an apartment and you moving in the middle of the month, they prorate it, right? There's fewness of days.
Right. And we think everything comes from the heathen. What was Pharaoh's prorate? He said just get rid of, just hey. It wasn't a whole bunch of options. Go ahead.
You shall not therefore oppress one another, but you shall fear your Elohim, for I am Yahweh your El. Wherefore you shall do my statutes and keep my judgments and do them. And you shall dwell in the land in safety. And the land shall yield her fruit, and you shall eat your fill, and dwell therein in safety. And if you shall say, what shall we eat the 7th year? Behold, we shall not sow nor gather in our increase. Then I will command my blessing upon you in the 6th year, and it shall bring forth fruit for 3 years.
Now, the exact same thing that was given unto us with the manna was then given in a form of years. But because the earth does not operate like this, the earth has constantly been depleted. It does not occur to the heathen that you can actually get more by leaving it alone. The heathen over consumes whatever. If the heathen operate like a virus. They come in, they suck up all the resources until that place is completely bone dry, and then they just move to another place and keep doing it. Well, they've been doing it all over the earth, and now the earth is revolting. Not one time did they think, you know what, we should probably pause and let the earth replenish itself. They say, no, man, we got to get this money. They know that going into those lands and doing all that fracking was going to cause a problem, but they said, look here, man, we're going to get this oil. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to frack this. We're going to frack this. Ain't but so long did you keep fracking, did the earth frack back? And that whole land that they do that to is the people are left with all kind of issues when they get through. And they know it. But because there was money involved, they refused to stop. Now we have all of these extended measures because they want to unscrew the earth. One thing I found out, bro, you can't unscrew nothing. It ain't gonna happen. Once you done screwed it up, it's screwed up. You can't undo that. So now they have done all of these things, and now they're gonna try to put it in reverse and see if it'll go back to where it was. No. It's one way that it's gonna get back to what it was, and that's to shed the blood of whoever screwed it up. Go ahead.
And you shall sow the 8th year, and eat yet of old fruit until the 9th year. Until her fruits come in, you shall eat of the old store. The land shall not be sold forever, for the land is mine.
Wait a minute. See, Yahweh is setting up something. Wait a minute. Now, you can't sell you don't have the right to sell my land. So, wait a minute. So wait a minute. So, he's saying that you have usable title. Wait a minute. So Yahweh has his trust here then. You know, so you can use the land, but you don't have the right to sell the land, which means you don't own the land. So you're in a trust relationship with Yahweh. So it really shouldn't be much of a problem. You don't really own nothing here. You ain't going to really own nothing there. What the problem is? At least you won't own nothing in righteousness, though. I'll take it. Go ahead.
For you are strangers and sojourners with me.
There you go.
And in all the land of your possession, you shall grant a redemption for the land. If your brother be waxen poor, and has sold away some of his possession, and if any of his kin come to redeem it, then shall he redeem that which his brother sold.
Right. You have the right to go and redeem your family property. Man, go up to Forsyth County. It's the whole area of $1 million homes, and they all used to be black folk owned. They do the same thing every time. They claim one black person did a crime. Then they come through the town and kill 100 black people and take 100 houses. Those are now 100 mansions. And there's no true legal transfer of sale with that property. You see all these black people on the property. The next thing you see is a deed given, but you don't see where there's a sale from the black person to the new Caucasian who now has the $1 million home. That has happened all over America, over and over and over again. Go ahead.
And if the man have none to redeem it, and himself be able to redeem it, then let him count the years of the sale thereof, and restore the overplus unto the man to whom he sold it, that he may return unto his possession.
Right. So it's some black folk that's supposed to be standing knocking on some doors in Forsyth County. Hey, how y'all doing? I came to get my check. Right, I need to get, the payment for the use of my land, or I need to get my land back. It's nice what you done with the place. This is nice. Right. Go ahead.
But if he not be able to restore it to him, then that which is sold shall remain in the hand of him that has bought it until the year of the Jubilee. And in the Jubilee it shall go out, and he shall return unto his possession. And if a man sell a dwelling house in a walled city, then he may redeem it within a whole year after it is sold. Within a full year may he redeem it. And if it be not redeemed within the space of a full year, then the house that is in the walled city shall be established forever to him that bought it throughout his generations. It shall not go out in the Jubilee. But the houses of the villages which have no wall round about them shall be counted as the fields of the country. They may be redeemed, and they shall go out in the Jubilee. Notwithstanding, the cities of the Levites and the houses of the cities of their possession may the Levites redeem at any time.
Notwithstanding, the houses of the Levites, they can redeem at any time. There's a separation. Go ahead.
And if a man purchase of the Levites, then the house that was sold and the city of his possession shall go out in the year of the Jubilee. For the houses of the cities of the Levites are their possession among the children of Israel. But the field of the suburbs of their cities may not be sold, for it is their perpetual possession. And if your brother be waxen poor, and fallen in decay with you, then you shall relieve him, yea, though he be a stranger or a sojourner, that he may live with you. Take you no interest of him, or increase, but fear your Elohim, that your brother may live with you. You shall not give him your money upon interest, nor lend him your victuals for increase. I am Yahweh your Elohim, which brought you forth out of the land of Egypt, to give you the land of Canaan, and to be your El. And if your brother that dwells by you be waxen poor, and be sold unto you, you shall not compel him to serve as a bondservant.
All right, now let's go back to verse 38, because I want you to think on something. I am Yahweh your Elohim, which brought you forth out of the land of Egypt to give you the land of Canaan. Now, Egypt and Canaan, a family. He brought you out of one brother's land and gave you another brother's land, or a son's land, a son of Ham. So people automatically will tell you that Hamites are the Africans and that they're black. How is it that they don't accept that Israel was completely inhabited by black people? How is it that they will never enter into that discussion? You ever notice that they also will never discuss who the other ethnicities are? Because the deeper they get into that discussion, the worse it's going to go. Go ahead.
But as an hired servant and as a sojourner, he shall be with you, and shall serve you unto the year of Jubilee. And then shall he depart from you, both he and his children with him, and shall return unto his own family, and unto the possession of his fathers shall he return. For they are my servants, which I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. They shall not be sold as bondmen.
Right. Yahweh said, I can sell them because they mine. If they don't do what they're supposed to do, I'll allow them to be sold, but they're my servants. So when people start asking them questions, yeah, your people were made slaves, right? Because that's what we were formed for. It's amazing that people will talk about the land of Israel and the people and the holy people. No. The group of people who Yahweh is talking about were created to be servants. That's why people would go halfway across the earth to go and get this certain group of people. They were created to be servants. So these people know how to serve. It's something in them concerning servitude. Because that's what they were created for. Go ahead.
You shall not rule over him with rigor, but shall fear your Elohim. Both your bondmen and your bondmaids, which you shall have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall you buy bondmen and bondmaids. Moreover, of the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall you buy, and of their families that are with you, which they begat in your land, and they shall be your possession. And you shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for possession. They shall be your bondmen forever. But over your brethren, the children of Israel, you shall not rule one over another with rigor. And if a sojourner or stranger wax rich by you, and your brother that dwells by him wax poor, and sell himself unto the stranger or sojourner by you, or to the stock of the stranger's family, after that he is sold, he may be redeemed again. One of his brethren may redeem him.
People could buy themselves out. And if not, their families could come and purchase them out of the servitude they were in. And people will try to connect this to say how there was no problem with the chattel slavery that they had here in America. Only those very first few people were able to buy themselves out. After that, the whole chattel part was you are a slave from the day you were born to the day you die. And everything that proceeds out of you is also a slave. Ain't no way of buying your way out of that. You can only die out. Go ahead.
Either his uncle or his uncle's son may redeem him, or any that is near of kin unto him of his family may redeem him. Or if he be able, he may redeem himself. And he shall reckon with him that bought him from the year that he was sold to him unto the year of Jubilee. And the price of his sale shall be according unto the number of years, according to the time of an hired servant shall it be with him.
All right. I want you to go to this next article. Because as we talk about how Yahweh has an order that protects us from all these other forms of evil. And, you know, this is Yahweh. Yahweh is the husband of Israel. He has a set of rules that protects his wife. But what happens is there comes a point where we don't want to be protected. We want to be wild. We feel like we done learned some things and we can do this on our own. So we want to go outside of his protection. So, but his protection keeps us from ending up in these situations. Go ahead, brother. Let's start that.
3 corporations own 19,000 Metro Atlanta homes. What does that mean for the housing market?
Now, this is just Atlanta. Understand, we have online members from almost every state, people out of the country. This does not include any of those states, even other cities. We're talking about Metro Atlanta. We're just talking about a couple counties. All right? Go ahead.
A recent study by Georgia State University researchers found that 3 corporations own more than 19,000 homes in Atlanta's 5 metro counties. Atlanta has more of these properties than the next couple of metros combined, Taylor Shelton, a professor at GSU, said. Shelton has published multiple studies on the topic. The most recent one found that Invitation Homes, Pretium Partners, which operates Progress Residential, and Amherst Holdings, which operates Main Street Renewal, own around 11% of all single-family homes for rent in the state.
And you have to ask yourself, okay, when you're talking about an apartment complex, you understand, okay, there's a lot of different units. They can make a lot of money with the individual units. Why did they specifically go into a one-house situation and buying these houses one by one and buying up all of these houses? Now you're talking about a significant amount of control of people. Because once you control where the people stay, you can also implement other measures. These people can also say, you know, hey, we want our place to be safe, so we need you to go ahead and take that new medicine. Because we don't want no sick people walking around our properties. Go ahead.
You know, the push even came when they started requiring, 20% down payment to buy a home? Mm-hmm. How many people can come up with that as the housing prices go up?
Right. But you don't want to be like Pharaoh, do you? Well, go and throw that 20 down, bro. Stop tripping. You know? Go ahead.
In smaller neighborhoods, sometimes that's upwards of 50%, Shelton said. In those neighborhoods, Shelton said the companies can effectively control the rental prices.
Of course they can. I've already seen several homes in my neighborhood that these people don't care if they rent it or not. Straight companies bought these houses. They redo the whole house and then board it up and just wait. Who got enough money to spend to completely redo a house and don't care if they put nobody in it? And I'm talking, it's 4 or 5 of them, all redone. Go ahead.
I remember telling you the new subdivision next to me that was built, it's about 100 homes, and none of them were for sale. They're all for lease. They even got the banners hanging on the balconies now for lease. You talking about 4-bedroom homes, a whole subdivision, but with nothing but rental property.
It's a different life they're putting together here. Go ahead.
While landlords renting out property is not new, the scale is. Just a decade ago or so ago, none of these companies even existed, Shelton explained. According to Sheldon's study, while each company targets different city areas, they usually focus on the same type of houses. The homes that most of these companies are buying are exactly the kind of homes that 15, 20, 30 years ago would have been starter homes,
All
Shelton
right.
said.
So if they're targeting starter homes, who that's going to affect more than any? So they ain't out buying mansions. No. They buying them homes up that would have been your first home purchase. Well, if you can't get to the first one, how you gonna get to the second and third one? You can't afford the first one because you use the first one, fix it up, you sell it, you get a little bit more, you get the second one. Well, all the first ones done been bought out. So now that done drove the price up in the market. So before you can even go on your first step, somebody already took your first step away from you. Go ahead.
That also explains why some of us get the phone calls every day. You want to sell your house? You
Right.
want to sell your house?
Right.
The first wave of these companies buying properties came after the housing crisis over 15 years ago. Other groups continued to jump in, targeting markets in what has been historically affordable for housing, like Phoenix and Atlanta. These corporations bought more property throughout the pandemic, often offering cash offers that average buyers struggle to compete with.
Right. So the mom and pop home flippers are being pushed to the back because they can't throw out the kind of cash that these people are throwing. Go ahead.
The result is rapid rise in the number of corporation homes rented out to families.
You know, I was talking to some brothers before. I said, man, my folks was able to, they had a little apartment, a nice little apartment, $900. Them brothers say, hey, man, them days gone, bro. Them days, $900, you get to park your car. So you can park there for now you're not going to have no door to go in, but you can definitely park your car there. Go ahead.
Whether you are renting or buying, the effect of these companies is they are driving up prices for everybody, Shelton said.
So the whole push is controlling that price. So if you create the same epidemic, you create the same shortages, and then the houses are already mortgaged off before you even get it. Because we have to ask ourselves, how can they encourage people to do something when we all know it's wrong? Everybody has read that except they buy and sell, except they take this name, number, and mark, they won't be able to buy and sell. Everybody, how do you get people to the point of accepting something that everybody knows is wrong? You got to corner them. Let's go to Nehemiah chapter 5. And a lot of times we look at things like this and we say, well, you know, that could never happen to us, you know. Nehemiah chapter 5, I'm going to start that at verse 1.
And there was a great cry of the people and of their wives against their brethren the Yehudims. For there were that said, we, our sons and our daughters are many. Therefore we take up corn for them, that we may eat and live. Some also there were that said, we have mortgaged our lands, vineyards, and houses, that we might buy corn because of the dearth.
Now, Israel is having to deal with Pharaoh's setup. Go ahead.
There were also that said, we have borrowed money for the king's tribute,
Uh-huh.
and that upon our lands and vineyards.
So they got a home equity line of credit. Go ahead.
Yet now our flesh is as the flesh of our brethren, our children as their children. And lo, we bring into bondage our sons and our daughters to be servants.
No. Read that slow. Verse 5. Yet now our flesh is as the flesh of our brethren, our children as their children. And lo, we bring into bondage our sons and daughters to be servants. They already got bad credit before they even get here. Half of us found out we had bad credit. We was amazed. Like, what is credit? And how I get bad?
Well, these lights was in your name when we was looking.
Wait a minute, what? Yeah, your mama ran out of names to put that in.
You know, put a little Junebug name. Yeah, Junebug Johnson.
What? When I get lights? Kid in bondage already. Kid starting. Very first opportunity to do something, boom, already got bad credit. Next situation, student loan. Kid already in bondage. Saying, you know, I want to be this, I want to be that. Come out of school, $100,000 on them right off the rip. Bondage. Now you got to work. You got to go to, hey, I hope you experienced the world. I hope you had a good time. You got to go work. Let's go. Let's go. Let me tell you, hey, look, Sam done called here 3 times already. You got to go. Because Sam want his money. Come on now. I hope you enjoyed the world. But let me tell you something. He want his money. You back in bondage. Let's go. Ain't no I'm going to sit down and say, we ain't got it like them other people. They, you know, I'm going to go to college. And then, you know, I'm just going to go off to Spain and France. I'm going to see the world. Baby, you went to college. Let me tell you how you going to see the world. The internet. You're going to log on. And let me tell you something. You're going to go to all those places right here on the World Wide Web. You understand? But I can tell you what you're going to do at 8:30. You're going to take your ass to work. You understand what I'm talking about? There we go. Now, come on. Let's get on the good foot. Go ahead.
You know, even today, without this situation says we bring into bondage our sons and our daughters. You know, a lot of times we the ones pushing for college.
Of course we do.
So, like you say, then they go and they got to get these loans. But then that's when they also got to turn around and say, I need a cosigner.
Right. And then, first thing they ask you,
So where you live? Oh, that's your house? Sign right here. Tell me, you love your baby, don't you? Well, shut up then. Sign that. Right.
now our land in bondage, our people in bondage. And then they get, after spending all that money in school, they then bring them out and say,
Well, you know, you got to get experience. So we're going to need you to start you right here at McDonald's.
wait a minute. Wait a minute. You know how much money I done spent in the school? I done spent all this money. I'm highly educated.
I know. That's why we're going to start you on fries.
Hey, y'all know how it work. I came out of DeVry making $5.35 an hour. Driving my own car. Buick Regal had that leak from the manifold gasket. So the smoke would come up right by my window. So I look real mysterious when I pulled up. yeah, right. They told me the same thing.
You got to get experience.
See, I got experience, all right. I got real experience. Go ahead, bro.
And some of our daughters are brought onto bondage already. Neither is it in our power to redeem them, for other men have our lands and our vineyards. And I was very angry when I heard their cry and these words. Then I consulted with myself and rebuked the nobles and the rulers and said unto them,
So now he's got to encourage Israel to stop doing what the heathens do. Hey, man, did y'all forget the order that was given unto us for protection? How is it that you've taken on the ways of the heathen and now you oppress your brothers? Just because they do that, we don't do that. But part of going off into these colleges and learning, we're also learning their ways. We're also getting indoctrinated. See, we joining this group and we joining this group and we going to join that group. Each time they reeling us in with some more of their teachings. So while we getting educated, we also getting indoctrinated. So now we think it's normal. So these the people who are in power and now they're oppressing the normal man. Now how they get in power? So when they were getting educated, who was also indoctrinating them? All right, this is the way you do this. And let me tell you something, we take this thing serious, man. What's them colors them AKA be wearing?
pink and green.
Hey, bro, I saw a woman, I swear to God, she could have been 104. She had on some pink and green tights, and I was like, first of all, Grandma, first of all, it should have been an age limit on those tights. All right? There should be some kind of requirements on these things. You just don't, come on, I know you want to brag, you AKA, but let me tell you something. Grandmama, that's just wrong, Grandmama. Grandmama, that's just wrong. That's just right, ruin my lunch. This is wrong. When you're 100 years old in those tights, but you had to show off your AKA. Proud that we done pledged. We so proud. Right. Automatically to make sure that you understand I'm better than you. Yes, sir. See? I need to display that I'm better than you. So that's why I put on these grandmama tights. And I'm going to walk out here. Right. Now he got to go encourage Israel. Hey, remember what we were given as a protection to us. Stop picking up these people's ways. Go ahead.
You exact interest, every one of his brother. And I set a great assembly against them. And I said unto them, we after our ability have redeemed our brethren the Yehudims, which were sold unto the heathen. And will you even sell your brethren?
Right. You gonna turn around and do the same thing? Go ahead.
Or shall they be sold unto us? Then held they their peace and found nothing to answer. Also I said, it is not good that you do, ought you not. It is not good that you do. Ought you not to walk in the fear of our Elohim because of the reproach of the heathen, our enemies? I likewise, and my brethren, and my servants might exact of them money and corn. I pray you, let us leave off this interest. Restore, I pray you, to them, even this day, their lands, their vineyards, their olive yards, and their houses.
Restore unto them. Stop charging them this interest. Stop doing what the heathen, because business-wise, people always tell you, obey the laws of the land so that it go well for you. Let me tell you something. You obey the laws of Yahweh so that it go well for you. The laws of the land say you can charge this interest. The laws of your Elohim say you can't. Go ahead, because the law told you can. Go ahead. Come on, Cletus. You're going to find out, though. Go ahead. See, the law of the land say you can. The law of my God say you can't. You want to charge that, you got to deal with somebody else. You can't deal with your people like that. Go ahead.
Also the 100th part of the money and of the corn, the wine, and the oil that you exact of them. Then said they, We'll restore them, and will require nothing of them. So will we do as you saith. Then I called the priest and took an oath of them, that they should do according to this promise. Also I shook my lap and said, So Elohim shake out every man from his house and from his labor that performeth not this promise. Even thus be he shaken out.
Wait a minute. Shake out every man from his house who don't perform this. So he entering into an oath with Yahweh. Shake him out. Now, if that individual doesn't do that or he tries to be slick, then some things start happening. He don't understand why. No, the priest entered into a covenant when he was saying all of these things. And you entered into that covenant by agreeing to it. So now when this comes down on you, you don't even understand what you've agreed to. Go ahead.
And emptied. And all the congregation said, Amen, and praised Yahweh. And the people did according to this promise. Moreover, from the time that I was appointed to be their governor in the land of Yehudah, from the 20th year even on to the 32nd year of Artaxerxes the king, that is, 12 years, I and my brethren have not eaten the bread of the governor.
All right, let's go to Luke chapter 15. Now see, if somebody doesn't stand up and proclaim the law of Yahweh, you have to ask yourself, just how bad does this situation get? What happens if this operation of the heathen keeps carrying on generation after generation after generation? Do we own anything after a while? Luke chapter 15, and let's read verses 11 through 24.
And he said, A certain man had 2 sons. And the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of the goods that falls to me. And he divided unto them his living. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together, and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living. And when he had spent all, there arose a mighty famine in that land, and he began to be in want.
All right, so this is not a situation where we lost the land because somebody else is coming, in and beguiled us out of it. This is a situation where, hey, we want to party right now. And now that riotous living has taken away our possession. Go ahead.
And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country.
Because now once you done lost all your stuff, now you got to move in with somebody. Part of our whole thing, man, is so sad. We want to have, the stuff that we see on television. We want to see that stuff that we see on the phone. They have all these fine homes on Instagram, and we want to have those things. So to do that, to live in these places, then we end up getting us some roommates that we ain't got no business being with. So now we live in a fine place with a devil. But we can tell people, yeah, I stay over there on Hildebrook Acres. Yeah. Yeah. Right. And you got to fight that other demon every other day. Right. Go ahead.
And he sent him into his fields to feed swine. And he would fain have filled his belly with the husk that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him. And when he came to himself, he said, How many hired servants of my father's have bread enough and to spare, and I perish with hunger?
Right, and when he came to himself. So the biggest part about that, how long does it take one to come to himself? How much does one have to lose before he come to himself? Do you have to be by yourself with nothing before you come to yourself? Can you come to yourself while still having $20,000 in the bank? Or do you have to see a negative number in the bank before you come to yourself? It is determined by you how long it takes for you to come to yourself. You determine how much you have to lose before you come to yourself. It's not a certain amount that he has to take from you. If you can come to yourself faster, you get to keep some of that stuff. That all depends on your level of vanity and your level of pride. How much does he have to take for you to come to yourself? Go ahead.
I will arise and go to my father, and will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you, and I am no more worthy to be called your son. Make me as one of your hired servants. And he arose and came to his father, but when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him, and had compassion, and ran, and fell on his neck, and kissed him. And the son said unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in your sight, and I am no more worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servants, Bring forth the best robe, and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand, and shoes on his feet.
Shoes on his feet. What? Now he left with a bag. He left with the bag. He came back with the crusties. He came back with crusty toe. He left looking like he had a pedicure. It took all that for him to come to himself. Why does he have to take us to being barefoot before we come to ourselves? Go ahead.
You know, brother, we look at this, or some might look at this on the natural father-son relationship and don't see the spiritual side. You know, there's people that go out there, you fall and you buck your toe and you don't see them, and after a while you might buck into them. What happened? Man, I've been going through some stuff. But you didn't feel like you could go back to your father and say, look, Father, I've sinned.
Right.
Hell no, ain't nobody finna make fun of me. Ain't nobody finna ridicule me. I ain't finna admit I did wrong and I failed. I mean, I know I'm out here sleeping in these bushes, but I tell you what. I found out if you get behind the bush, it warms up.
Oh, all right. Well, good luck on that. I hope that work out. I hope you keep moving every time the wind blows so you can be behind the bush. Go ahead.
And bring hither the fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and be merry. For this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found, and they began to be merry.
All right, let's go to Genesis chapter 25. See, even though Yahweh has set up a system of protection for the children of Israel, there is still that movement, there is still that opportunity to exercise our free will. So we say, you know what? I'm just deciding I'm not really gonna keep Yahweh's way. I don't like this system of protection that you have for me. Genesis chapter 25, and let's start at verse 19.
And these are the generations of Esau, Abraham's son. Abraham begot Esau. And Esau was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel the Syrian of Paddan Aram, the sister of Laban the Syrian. And Esau entreated Yahweh for his wife, because she was barren. And Yahweh was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her. And she said, If it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of Yah. And Yahweh said unto her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from your bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger.
Only a woman can bring forth different nations out of her womb. A man can only produce what proceeds out of him. He can only make one nation. A woman can make whatever nation she allows to come in unto her. Go ahead.
And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red, all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Esau was 80 years old when she bare them. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents. And Esau loved Esau, because he did eat of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob. And Jacob sod pottage, And Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray you, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said, sell me this day your birthright. And Esau said, behold, I'm at the point to die. And what profit shall this birthright do to me?
All right, all it takes is the right situation, and his birthright is for sale. Go ahead.
And Jacob said, swear to me this day. And he swore unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright.
Now, the last part. Thus Esau despised his birthright. It didn't mean anything to him because at that point it doesn't really have a monetary value. When it does have a monetary value, now he's upset and feels like somebody has stolen something from him. Let's go to Matthew chapter 12. See, the nations are playing both ends against the middle because they know exactly who truly owns that land. They know what information to suppress and which information to magnify. Matthew chapter 12, and let's start that at verse 33.
Either make the tree good and its fruit good, or else make the tree corrupt and its fruit corrupt, for the tree is known by his fruit. O generation of vipers, how can you, being evil, speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks. A good man out of the good treasure of the heart brings forth good things, and an evil man out of the evil treasure brings forth evil things.
Right, but don't you get fooled and think because you hadn't heard evil proceed out of man's mouth or a woman's mouth that it ain't evil in there. Don't let quiet people make you think that they humble and all of these things. That evil just ain't proceeded out of their mouth, but it's in their mind and it's in their heart. And when the right opportunity come out, you're going to see it. Go ahead.
But I say unto you, that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. For by your words you shall be justified, and by your words you shall be condemned.
Now, and when it's those words, are those words, are they the ones that have to be spoken? Remember, that angel told Sarah, he said, why you laugh? She said, I didn't. He said, but you did. She didn't laugh out loud. Do you say all your prayers out loud? Well, how he heard them? How he heard them? You ain't say all of them out loud? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Jump to verse 46.
Then goes he and takes with himself 7 other spirits more wicked than himself, and they enter in and dwell there. And the last state of that man is worse than the first, even so shall it be also in this wicked generation.
Okay, where you at?
That was 46, sorry.
Okay.
While he yet talked to the people, behold, his mother and his brethren stood without, desiring to speak with him. Then one said unto him, behold, your mother and your brethren stand without, desiring to speak with you. But he answered and said unto them that told him, who is my mother, and who are my brethren?
Say that to folks and see how strange they look at you. Who is my mother and who is my brother? See, now he's on a totally different level. I'm going to show you who's my mother and who my brother is. Now, understand now, we have a whole set of rules and regulations as to how we're supposed to deal with our brethren. Uh-oh. Now, here come Yahshua with some different kind of brothers. Because here it is, we will try to deal with a brother who looked like us according to this law, and he only looked like you. He not the same as you and him. So here it is. You trying to deal with him in righteousness, and he don't know nothing about righteousness. You trying to Abel him, and he trying to Cain you. Go ahead.
And he stretched forth his hand toward his disciples and said, Behold, my mother and my brethren.
Behold my mother and my brother. So that whole law that you talking about, when I try to enforce this and deal with this man, do understand that it's going to kick back at me. Now, I still got to try to keep what I can, but I got to understand that he's not going to keep that back with me. So I got to watch myself when I deal with him. Because he my brother, but he don't know he my brother. So I can't deal with him fully like a brother. Go ahead.
For whosoever shall do the will of my Father which is in heaven, the same is my brother and sister and mother.
All right. So then he makes that distinction. Let's go to Matthew chapter 26. So then we're gonna watch those operations and we can see whether or not that's my mother or my brother. I mean, surely we got natural. But we have to know where that line is going to be when it come down to certain things. Matthew 26, and we're going to start at verse 1.
And it came to pass, when Yahshua had finished all these sayings, he said unto his disciples, You know that after 2 days is the feast of the Passover, and the Son of Man is betrayed to be crucified. Then assembled together the chief priests and the scribes and the elders of the people onto the palace of the high priest, who was called Caiaphas, and consulted that they might take Yahshua by subtlety and kill him.
You know, the thing that we have to understand here is the more people like you, also the more people that hate you. Yahshua is doing mighty, wonderful works. There are people who absolutely love him. This man healed my child, man. This man has done all of these things. For all of the people that love him, he's also increasing with the people who hate him. He says, don't marvel not that they have called me Beelzebub, and say that I cast out demons by Beelzebub. Understand, they shall also, if they've done this to Son of Man, how much worse shall they be unto his servants? So you need to get prepared for certain things. Because every time you get ready to do something good, every time you make somebody happy, somebody else is made sad. Go ahead.
But they said, Not on the feast day, lest there be an uproar among the people.
Not we shouldn't do it. We just don't want to do it on the feast day. Because, you know, we got on our white linen. See, brother looking clean in this white linen. Look, we don't do it today. But I tell you what, when the sun go down, we're going to kill him. But not today, though. Not we shouldn't kill him. We just shouldn't kill him today. Go ahead.
Now when Yahshua was in Bethany, in the house of Simeon the leper, there came on to him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he sat at meat. But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, To what purpose is this waste?
When you don't understand everything that's going on, you will open your mouth and stick your foot in it. They don't really understand. He is preparing himself. He said, verse 2, you know that after 2 days is the feast of the Passover, and the Son of Man is to be betrayed to be crucified. Then the woman comes and pours this oil on his head. What happens in the manner of the Jews to bury? They anoint with oil and spices and wrap in linen cloth. Because we think we know everything, now they are saying, oh, she is wasting this. Because they don't see the time spiritually. Just because you understand what time it is physically does not mean you understand what time it is spiritually. He just said that this is what's about to happen. The woman comes pour the oil on him and they ridicule her. Go ahead.
For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. When Yahshua understood it, he said unto them, Why trouble you the woman? For she has wrought a good work upon me. For you have the poor always with you, but me you have not always. For in that she has poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial.
She did it for my burial. I just told y'all what's about to happen. Go ahead.
Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this, that this woman has done, be told for a memorial of her. Then one of the 12, called Judas Iscariot, went unto the chief priests, and said unto them, What shall you give me? And I will deliver him unto you. And they covenanted with him for 30 pieces of silver.
Right. You know, you have to consider, you know, when it comes down to the betrayal of you, sit down. Think about it. It was somebody that sat there and had dinner with you. At some point, they sat down, they broke bread with you. Go ahead.
And from that time he sought opportunity to betray him. Now the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, the disciples came to Yahshua, saying unto him, Where will you that we prepare for you to eat the Passover? And he said, Go into the city to such a man, and say unto him, The master says, My time is at hand. I will keep the Passover at your house with my disciples. And the disciples did as Yahshua had appointed them, and they made ready the Passover. Now when the even was come, he sat down with the 12. And as they did eat, he said, Verily I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me. And they were exceeding sorrowful, and began every one of them to say unto him, Master, is it I? And he answered and said, He that dips his hand with me in the dish, the same shall betray me. The Son of Man goes as it is written of him. But woe unto that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It had been good for that man if he had not been born. Then Judas, which betrayed him, answered and said, Master, is it I? He said unto him, You have said.
And let me tell you something. The same situation is true. Most of the betrayer and deceivers of Yahweh's people don't believe that they have done anything wrong. Let's go to John chapter 10. They actually believe that they are doing right when they do it. But that's the power of a blinding spirit. John chapter 10, and let's start that at verse 1.
Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that enters not by the door into the sheepfold, but climbs up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber. But he that enters in by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the porter opens, and the sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name, and leads them out.
Right. Sheep do not have a good sight. They have good hearing. This is why he constantly says, Hear, O children of Israel, not see. See, when you have to see before you move, then there's no trust. A sheep trusts the shepherd. The sheep can't see what's down the hill, but the sheep hear his voice and say, I'm going down the hill because he down the hill. I don't know what's down the hill, but I know he down the hill. I don't know what dangers are down the hill, but he down the hill. Go ahead.
And when he puts forth his own sheep, he goes before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice.
They know his voice, not they see him. See, we trust by sight. They know his voice. They can hear the word and say, oh, no, that's his word. Go ahead.
And a stranger will they not follow, but will flee from him, for they know not the voice of strangers.
And this is the exact, when I tell you these stories are exactly, when you go on a farm, you're going to find that it operates exactly like that. He's using these things because these are things that they understand. They understand how animals operate. They understand that a sheep will not follow. You can't just go on a farm and call the sheep and they come to you. Let the person who tend to them sheep come outside and just start talking. 50 sheep will come from way over on the other side and gather right there in front of him. Why? Because that's the voice they know. They didn't come over there because they seen him. So your dog see you when you come out. Your dog run to you because your dog know you by sight. Now you can get far off and whistle to your dog hear the voice, the dog will start running. These animals operate purely by their hearing. Go ahead.
This parable spake Yahshua unto them, but they understood not what things they were which he spake unto them. Then said Yahshua unto them again, Verily, verily, I say unto you, I am the door of the sheep. All that ever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door. By me if any man enter in, he shall be saved, and shall go in and out and find pasture. The thief comes not, but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd gives his life for the sheep.
Right. See, we got to come out of our own selves and see ourselves as the sheep, and then the thing makes sense. But our problem is we think we operate by sight. Go ahead.
But he that is an hireling, and not the shepherd, whose own the sheep are not, sees the wolf coming, and leaves the sheep, and flees. And the wolf catches them, and scatters the sheep. The hireling flees, because he's an hireling, and cares not for the sheep.
Right.
I am the good shepherd, and know my sheep, and I'm known of mine. As the Father knows me, even so know I the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold, them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd.
Right. Yahweh has his little sanctuaries all over the earth. And when it's his time, he going to gather all of them together. Go ahead.
Therefore does my Father love me, because I lay down my life, that I might take it again. No man takes it from me, but I lay it down of myself. I have power to lay it down, and I have power to take it again. This commandment have I received of my Father.
All right, let's go to 2 Peter chapter 2. 2 Peter chapter 2, and we're going to start that at verse 9.
The Adonai knows how to deliver the godly out of temptations, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished. But chiefly them that walk after the flesh in the lust of uncleanness, and despise government.
They despise government, so they don't like the orderly setup that Yahweh has. See, this is what happens when you have them habitual line crossers. They don't respect government. They don't respect authority. Every time you turn around, they step and cross some line. They are habitual line crossers. And they won't say out of their mouths that they despise government. They won't say out of their mouths that they despise order. You're just going to find out that each and every time something happened, they did what they wanted to do. Go ahead.
Presumptuous are they, self-willed.
Self-willed.
They're not afraid to speak evil of dignity.
They'll speak evil of anybody. They'll trash your name like it ain't nothing. They don't believe Yahweh called you. But they don't mind using you for anything that they can get out of you. Go ahead.
Whereas angels, which are greater in power and might, bring not railing accusation against against them before the Adonai. But these, as natural brute beasts, made to be taken and destroyed, speak evil of things that they understand not, and shall utterly perish in their own corruption.
They think they understand. The disciples thought they understood when they were saying, what is this woman with all this waste? Sometimes you know just enough, get yourself killed. Look at this woman, look at how she got all this waste. This stuff could be given to the poor. It could have been a great work. Man, leave that woman alone. You think you understand something and you don't. Go ahead.
And shall receive the reward of unrighteousness, as they that count it pleasure to riot in the daytime. Spots they are and blemishes, sporting themselves with their own deceivings while they feast with you.
Sporting themselves with their own deceivings while they feast with you. Now, they don't care for you, but they would love to come to your feast. Go ahead.
Having eyes full of adultery, and that cannot cease from sin, beguiling unstable souls.
Beguiling unstable souls. Part of the reason they don't like you when they find out that they can't beguile you. They keep trying to introduce you into their way of life, and the slower you react, the more angry they get with you. Go ahead.
An heart they have exercised with covetous practices, cursed children, which have forsaken the right way and are gone astray, following the way of Balaam the son of Besor, who loved the wages of unrighteousness, but was rebuked of his lawlessness. The dumbass speaking with man's voice forbade the madness of the prophet. These are wells without water, clouds that are carried with a tempest, to whom the mist of darkness is reserved forever. For when they speak great swelling words of vanity, they allure through the lust of the flesh, through much wantonness. Those that were clean escape from them who live in error. While they promise them liberty, they themselves are the servants of corruption. For of whom a man is overcome, of the same is he brought into bondage. For if after they have escaped the pollutions of the world, through the knowledge of the Adonai and Savior Yahshua HaMashiach, they are again entangled therein and overcome, the latter end is worse with them than the beginning.
The latter end is worse with them than the beginning. If they get entangled therein and overcome. This is why you want to keep working. It don't just say if they get entangled therein. It says entangled therein and overcome. So they get entangled, they done fail, they done slip. What now keeps them from being overcome? Better have something. Because once you get overcome, now it's done. Something has to keep allowing you to get pulled out of that fire. You better find whatever that something is and duct tape yourself to it. Go ahead.
For it had been better for them not to have known the way of righteousness than, after they have known it, to turn from the holy commandment delivered unto them. But it has happened unto them according to the true proverb. The dog is turned to his own vomit again, and the sow that was washed to her wallowing in the mire.
And this is said about the disgustingness of these animals. It has happened unto them according to the true proverb. The dog is turned to his own vomit again. I learned that dogs will eat way worse than vomit. So they was nice with this statement right here. They was real nice. Brother, read that next note right there. What it says in Jude.
Jude chapter 1, verses 12 and 13. These are spots in your feast of love.
These are spots in your feast of love. Go ahead.
When they feast with you, feeding themselves without fear.
Feeding themselves without fear. You have to understand, when Yahshua kept the Passover, he kept it with his disciples. And even there was still an evil man in the midst. Go ahead.
Clouds they are without water, carried about of winds, trees whose fruit withereth, without fruit, twice dead, plucked up by the roots, raging waves of the sea, foaming out their own shame.
Now, if they're foaming out their own shame, what's happening is that's coming out of their mouth. That's their words. Mm-hmm. They don't know that they are saying things that are exposing them. Go ahead.
Wandering stars, to whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever.
Wandering stars. Every time you turn around, they go to church somewhere. Now I know we all have situations. You look up everywhere, you run into the wandering star. How you get over here? What you doing wandering over? Just wandering. Just wander. Here, there, yonder. Just wander everywhere. Right. They can't be still. They don't have a stable spirit to be still. It just causes them to wander. Now, today's generation doesn't understand how intimate sharing a meal was in the days and times of our forefathers. Business deals, marriage covenants, and agreements of peace were formulated during a meal. So to betray one to whom we have sat down and broke bread with is indeed an evil act that we look at lightly in these days and times. The act of betrayal itself is a very important aspect of the forming and sharpening of his servants. Those intimate moments of betrayal against us are to cause us to see the betrayal we have entertained against Yahweh our Elohim. That betrayal also sharpens us as well. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 5. See, there's certain things that we don't want to happen. But in the process, some of those things end up being the motivation for us to do greater things. Proverbs chapter 5, and we're going to start that at verse 1.
My son, attend unto my wisdom, and bow your ear to my understanding, that you may regard discretion, and that your lips may keep knowledge. For the lips of a strange woman drop as a honeycomb, and her mouth is smoother than oil. But her end is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death, her steps take hold on hell. Lest you should ponder the path of life, her ways are movable, that you cannot know them. Hear me now, therefore, O you children, and depart not from the words of my mouth. Remove your way far from her, and come not near the door of her house. Lest you give your honor unto others, and your years unto the cruel. Lest strangers be filled with your wealth, and your labors be in the house of a stranger. And you mourn at the last, when your flesh and your body are consumed. And say, how have I hated instruction, and my heart despised reproof? And have not obeyed the voice of my teachers, nor inclined my ear to them that instructed me. I was almost in all evil in the midst of the congregation and assembly. Drink waters out of your own cistern, and running waters out of your own well. Let your fountains be dispersed abroad, and rivers of waters in the streets. Let them be only your own, and not strangers with you. Let your fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of your youth. Let her be as the loving hind and pleasant roe. Let her breast satisfy you at all times, and be you ravished always with her love. And why will you, my son, be ravished with a strange woman?
All right, so Yahweh is dealing with two different things here. There's the natural and the spiritual aspect of the wife of your youth. You know, in the spiritual aspect, we have to deal with what doctrine were you given to begin with? This was the doctrine that you were married to. But then, as you go off into the world and get more educated and you go to all of these places, now you have gotten ravaged with a strange woman. Now you have a strange doctrine that you have grabbed a hold of, and now it has caused you to do other things. So you have that in the natural aspect of the wife of your youth, because then we have our own situations of as we achieve, we renegotiate some things in our minds. So Yahweh is dealing with two aspects here. Go ahead.
And embrace the bosom of a stranger.
Mm-hmm.
For the ways of man are before the eyes of Yahweh, and he ponders all his goings. His own lawlessness shall take the wicked himself, and he shall be holden with the cords of his sins. He shall die without instruction, and in the greatness of his folly he shall go astray.
All right, let's go to Isaiah chapter 54. So Yahweh gave the children of Israel a doctrine that Israel was supposed to be dealing with. But then we see the heathens portrayed on the walls and all of these other places, and now we have become ravaged with a strange woman. We got strange doctrine now. And what do? We mingle that with Yahweh's. Isaiah 54, and let's read verses 1 through 17.
Sing, O barren, you that did not bear. Break forth into singing and cry aloud, you that did not travail with child. For more are the children of the desolate than the children of the married wife, says Yahweh. Enlarge the place of your tent, and let them stretch forth the curtains of your habitations. Spare not, lengthen your cords, and strengthen your stakes. For you shall break forth on the right hand and on the left, and your seed shall inherit the Gentiles, and make the desolate cities to be inhabited. Fear not, for you shall not be ashamed, neither be you confounded, for you shall not be put to shame. For you shall forget the shame of your youth, and shall not remember the reproach of your widowhood any more. For your Maker is your husband, Yahweh of hosts is his name, and your Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. The El of the whole earth shall he be called.
Your Maker is your husband. Go ahead.
For Yahweh has called you as a woman forsaken and grieved in spirit, and a wife of youth, when you was refused, says your Elohim. For a small moment have I forsaken you.
For a small moment have I forsaken you. Go ahead.
But with great mercies will I gather you. In a little wrath I hid my face from you for a moment. But with everlasting kindness will I have mercy on you, says Yahweh your Redeemer.
Now, why does he have to do this unto the wife of his youth? We'll get into that in a little bit. Go ahead.
For this is as the waters of Noah unto me. For as I have sworn that the waters of Noah should no more go over the earth, so have I sworn that I would not be angry with you, nor rebuke you. For the mountains shall depart, and the hills be removed, but my kindness shall not depart from you, neither shall the covenant of my peace be removed, says Yahweh, that has mercy on you. O you afflicted, tossed with tempest, and not comforted, behold, I will lay your stones with fair colors, and lay your foundations with sapphires. And I'll make your windows of agates, and your gates of carbuncles, and all your borders of pleasant stones. And all your children shall be taught of Yahweh, and great shall be the peace of your children. In righteousness shall you be established, you shall be far from oppression. For you shall not fear, and from terror, for it shall not come near you. Behold, they shall surely gather together, but not by me. Whosoever shall gather together against you shall fall for your sake.
And that's going to be a large change from all of the things that Israel has had to endure, and then the power lays upon Israel. But before he can restore his wife, he has to get her attention. That's why he says, I have forsaken you for a little while. Why? So you'll learn that my time is valuable. You'll learn that my love is valuable. Sometimes the more I present that to you, the more it just gets to be that, oh, that's just what you're supposed to do. So maybe you need to miss it for a little bit. He said, for a small moment, I had to turn away from you. Small moment. Go ahead.
Behold, I have created the smith that blows the coals in the fire, and that bring forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy. No weapon that is formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against you in judgment you shall condemn.
You shall condemn. Now I'm going to condemn. No weapon that is formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against you in judgment you shall condemn. But when you do it, people say, man, you being mean. Because you don't know what kind of power you got. That ain't my problem. You don't know that you're supposed to condemn it. You still waiting on somebody else to condemn what has spoken against you. Go ahead.
This is the heritage of the servants of Yahweh, and their righteousness is of me, says Yahweh.
All right, brother, read the note from Malachi right there.
Malachi chapter 2 and verse 14. Yet you say, wherefore? Because Yahweh has been witness between you and the wife of your youth, against whom have you dealt treacherously. Yet is she your companion and the wife of your covenant.
Now, this wife of your youth, he says, you have dealt treacherously with her. So we got a double-fold situation even going on there. Let's go to Matthew chapter 19. And we're going to read verses 1 through 9.
And it came to pass that when Yahshua had finished these things, he departed from Galilee and came into the coast of Judea beyond Jordan. And great multitudes followed him, and he healed them there. The Pharisees also came unto him, tempting him, and saying unto him, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? And he answered and said unto them, have you not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female?
He said, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? Today they have irreconcilable difference.
What do you mean? I mean, we just couldn't agree.
Go ahead.
And said, for this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they two shall be one flesh. Wherefore they are no more two, but one flesh. What therefore Elohim has joined together, let no man put asunder. They say unto him, why did Moshe then command to give a writing of divorcement and to put her away? He says unto them, Moshe, because of the hardness of your heart, suffered you to put away your wives. But from the beginning it was not so. And I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, commits adultery. And whoso marries her which is put away does commit adultery.
So then we have the situation where it says, who shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another. So what was the first wife? That was the wife of his youth. He put her away to marry another one. Why? There's two sets of things going on. Now, in life, as we begin to achieve greater accomplishment, we renegotiate the manner in which we will travel. We renegotiate our living quarters. And in some cases, we begin to renegotiate our marital covenants. As we have achieved more, we then begin to believe that we deserve more. This thought process encompasses the dealings of the wife of one's youth. As a man's accomplishments have determined his living quarters, his status also tells him in the vanity of his mind that he deserves something greater than the wife of his youth. This concept, though, is double-fold in its application. Sometimes the wife of one's youth deals treacherously with her husband. As he grows and changes, she in turn can only see him as she has known him before. So the honor that he has among others, he will never have among her. Let's read Matthew chapter 13 and let's hear the conclusion of this matter. Matthew chapter 13, and we're going to read verses 53 through 58.
And
See, you know, sometimes it's a situation where, you know, Yahweh calls you when he calls you. And he calls you from wherever you are. So, at that point, you hear the word. Maybe all you know by it is West Side Red at that point. All right? But after you done walked in this word for a little bit, and you start to change, does the wife of your youth, can she only see West Side Red when she look at you? Then now we got an issue. Because understand now, if Malcolm X had died at 20 years old, he was a pimp named Red. Mm-hmm. So when you see Malcolm X, do you see a pimp named Red or do you see Malcolm X? Now you know to somebody, no matter how many pictures you show of Malcolm X, you know what they see? Pimp named Red. Okay. Matthew chapter 13, verse 53.
And it came to pass that when Yahshua had finished these parables, he departed thence. And when he was come into his own country, he taught them in their synagogue, insomuch that they were astonished, and said, whence has this man this wisdom and these mighty works? Is not this the carpenter's son?
Wait a minute. They have already considered how they're going to deal with him. We know him. This is the carpenter's son. We can't accept anything greater than that. I mean, unless he gonna make us a table. This is the only way we gonna deal with Buddy. We ain't trying to deal with no holiness. We ain't trying to deal with no righteousness. This is how we know him. And we can't know him no other kind of way. Go ahead.
Is not his mother called Miriam, and his brethren?
Ain't his mama named Joanne? Ain't that Buddy now? Buddy to drive the little black car. Ain't that him? Come on, man. I know y'all ain't finna try to tell me no righteousness about Buddy now. Joanne, baby. Why stop? Nobody trying to hear that. Go ahead.
And his brethren, Jacob and Joses and Simeon and Yehuda.
I'm going through the whole man. Come on, man. I can tell you his whole family, bro. You're not going to talk to me about no righteousness with this cat. Go ahead.
And his sisters, are they not all with us?
Oh, man. Come on. Go ahead.
Whence then has this man all these things? And they were offended in him.
They are offended. Not that he's done anything to them. They're offended because they cannot accept anything great coming from somebody who they've previously known as something else. They have already decided, just like sometimes the wife of one's youth has already decided, this is all you gonna be. Go ahead.
And they were offended in him, but Yahshua said unto them, a prophet is not without honor, save in his own country
and in his own house. A prophet can get honor. He can go halfway across the world and they'll honor him. Go to his own house. Mama, your husband here. Mama, Buddy back. What? I went out there was singing songs when I walked in. I go in here, they throwing my socks at me. Go ahead.
You know, it's funny we say that because I remember one of our children asked me a question, so I said, how do you want me to answer this? Do you want me to answer this as daddy or as the underpriest? Of course, they chose daddy. I said, well, the mouth of daddy is still attached to the underpriest.
There it is.
Verse 58, and he did not many mighty works there because of their unbelief.
Okay, so then because of their unbelief, it limited what he was able to do. So then if we understand that a example was given unto us. A foundation has been set. When we realize that we're dealing in a limited situation, you're supposed to limit the amount of works that you do there. You keep setting yourself in more problems. You keep thinking that these people who have already hit the ceiling on how they're going to see you, you think that if you do more works among these people that they're going to see you in a better light. They have already decided the best that they ever going to see you. Yeshua didn't try to change their mind. He saw that they offended in me. They know my family. They know my upbringing. They know what I did. They know what I done. That's all they gonna see me as. They don't need me hanging around these people. I can't even work around this level of negativity. When he gives us a system to protect us, we have to respect the system. We then go outside the system and then wonder why we got hurt. He told you himself. He didn't do many works there because of their unbelief. They had already determined how they were going to see Yeshua, and Christ wasn't it. Savior wasn't it. You're going to be that dude that made that table. That's all you're going to be in his life, is that. Then you need to go do your work somewhere else. That's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.